was upstairs, so my ticket was pulled. And I'm like, I want something. I can't believe it, right? So I'm coming down the ramp, and it dawned on me, oh my God, what if it's heated socks? Thank God it was an archery target. So I'm going to tell you my story. It's a long story. It spans about 50 years. And I'm going to fit it in the time I got, so don't worry about that. But to understand where I'm at right now, I got to start at the beginning, right? So it started when I was about 10 years old. Back then, my mom and dad had 2 taverns in Fort Wayne. And our Sundays were not spent in church. Our Sundays were spent cleaning the taverns, prepping for food, and getting it ready for Monday. And that's when it started for me. It was really easy to sneak behind a bar and pour myself a shot. It was really easy for me to go in the walk-in cooler and sit and drink a beer. It was even easier to go up and pretend I'm a bartender, pour myself a Coke, and dump some whiskey in it. And that was at 10 years old. That followed me all through elementary school. I got to the point where I was stealing liquor bottles from the tavern, hide them in my room. Dad always had a stash somewhere, so I was always drinking. He had decanters everywhere, so I'd just go from one to another, so he never knew if I was hitting them. Middle school got worse. Got into the huffing, a lot of pills, Valium, Quaaludes, all that stuff. High school, it got a little worse. More of the smoking hash, a lot of the, getting drunk underneath the football stands. And I was that guy that in school assemblies, I'd have a bottle of schnapps taped to my leg up in the corner so nobody could see me, and I'd drink schnapps all day during assemblies and sneaking into bathrooms. And I was that guy that sold the drugs in the bathrooms to the other kids. As you can imagine, I was in trouble constantly. Got kicked out of school multiple times for either fighting, drinking, drugs, weapons. I mean, the works. I was one of those kids. Spent much of my high school years in a school basement. I was kicked out of school completely and not allowed to return. And as you can tell, my relationship with my mom and dad was pretty bad. They had to deal with a kid that was always in trouble. So as soon as I hit 18, I was done. I got the heck out of the house. I bought me a home. And what was nice was at 18, there's nobody I have to answer to. I'm in my own place, doing my own thing. And that's where my addiction to cocaine started. So I was a framer, built houses, did a lot of remodeling. And to get through the day, I'd start my day with lines of coke. Throughout the day, it was speed. I'd get home, and it was more lines of coke so I could stay up all night and party. And that was probably an everyday occurrence for me until I was about 23. And that's where things really went downhill quickly. It was August 31st, 1986. I'll never forget that day. My goal was to hit last call. So I got home, did a few lines of coke, hit the road, and head for last call. So I'm sitting at a stoplight, and a blue car pulled up next to me with 3 guys. And one of the guys in the back seat is really eyeballing me. And I just, did the how do you do thing. And he got out, so I rolled down my window to see what he wanted, and he started punching at me through the window and hit me in the face. And all I remember was getting out of my truck, because that's the kind of guy I was, cocky, 23-year-old, right? And I'm taking on these 3 guys. Next thing I know, I'm going to wake them up in the hospital. What had happened was one of the guys pulled a gun and shot me 3 times in the gut. Somehow or another, I made it back into my truck and made it across the street and crashed into the back of a bar. Thank God it was about closing time, because people were walking out and they saw me and got me to the hospital. And they came and got me pretty quick. What they found is, they thought I was a crash victim. They thought I just drunk, crashed into a bar, right? Until they stripped me down, then they saw the bullet holes. What they found was one bullet went through the aorta, one went through my bowel, one went through the intestines, and lodged my back. So, of course, emergency surgery, they repaired the aorta, they repaired the bowel, but the bowel had already eaten the graft of the aorta, so the aorta failed again. They put a new aorta in. I got one that goes from my neck down inside my body to feed my legs. And in that time, all this is going on, trying to save the legs. The infection set in from the bowel being opened up, full septic, complete liver failure, heart failure, kidneys stopped, the works. And the doctors told me that they had to bring me back to life 13 times. Went through 36 operations, 30 plus transfusions to get me going through that. And they did everything they could to save the legs, but they just couldn't. They did tell me that they just tried to go inch by inch, and it wasn't working. So I wake up from that drug-induced coma weeks later, and I've got a trach in, I got hoses everywhere, and I could feel my feet, like they were bound, like they were held down by something. And I'm trying to talk to the nurse. Of course, I can't talk with the trach in, so she gives me a pad of paper. And she says, well, Cam, your feet can't hurt. You don't have any legs. Just very nonchalant like that. And I lost it. I went ballistic. I'm pulling out hoses. I'm screaming. Nothing's coming out. And I remember her just laying on top of me and yelling for help. And that's when they came running in and gave me a shot and knocked me out. When I came to, my parents were there this time, and they explained what had happened, about the bullet holes and all that, about the legs and everything else. And they explained further that they got to the point where it was so bad that they made a decision to pull the plug on me. I remember hearing the voices. I remember people crying. I remember my sister, she's got one of those irritating voices that grinds on you. And I remember laying there thinking, just shut up. But what had happened was the doctor, when he came in to perform the last rites, he noticed that there was actually urine in the kidney bag, in the urine bag. So he stopped everything and decided that it's worth trying. So thank God I was able to wake up. But when I woke up, that's when I found I got shot. I found out I had lost my savings. I had lost my truck. I had lost my motorcycle. My dad forgot to pay my insurance. So he had to get rid of everything to pay for insurance. About lost my house. I was declared indigent and was put on welfare. Now, to top it off, I was actually engaged to be married at that time. And she came in to see me, and she took her ring off and laid it on the table next to me and says, I don't think I can marry a man with no legs. And she walked out. And I was done. I was done. I had lost everything. I looked like hell. No legs, and I thought no future, and I had it all planned. I was going to get better and get out of that hospital and do an OD or something. I was going to end my life. I wasn't going to live like this. Like I said, I was never one to give up either. But when you felt that defeated and just nobody was around, it took me to a really dark place, and I just had to end it. So, gotcha. anyways, so that was me planning for almost 8 months. I was in hospital for 8 months. And they come into the room and they tell me that they're going to put me in physical therapy. So they roll me in, and picture this. I am down to like 130 something pounds. I'm yellow from jaundice. My eyes are yellow. I've got bed sores, bald spot in the back of my head for laying flat for so long. I was a fit guy. I was down to just bones. And so they put me into therapy to basically just get me stronger again. So they slid me on this tilt table. And what they do is they crank you down, with straps to hold you down, and they start cranking up the table to make you get used to sitting up again. I got to about a sitting position, and all the blood just rushed from my head, and I started getting sick. So my little therapist girl, she's about 5 feet tall, little thing, she comes running over with one of those little things for you to get sick in. You know, they're about this big, and never enough, right? And so anyways, I'm sitting there getting sick, and I look up at this girl that's holding it for me, and I'm thinking, holy crap, you're hot. And gentlemen, I'm telling you, that changed everything right there. I wasn't going to kill myself anymore, so. Oh, anyway, she was one of the physical therapists there, and I asked her one day what her name was, and she said, you know, her name is Sue, and you know, we're having some cute little conversation, and I know she always went behind this curtain to do something. So one day I asked her, what do you do back there? And she said, well, I do myofascial release, which is massage, deep heat, ultrasound, and I break up scar tissue. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I went back to my room, called my doctor. I said, hey, doctor, I got a lot of scar tissue. I think I need to see this girl. And he's like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. So next thing I know, boom, I'm behind the curtain with Sue. And it's different when you look like crap and you're just trying to get to know somebody. The conversations are real. There's nothing you can hide. Sue and I got to know each other really well. And I started going through outpatient therapy, coming in to see Sue, of course. And she asked me out. And six months later, we were engaged. And a year later, we were married. And next month, we celebrate 38 years. Yeah. Yeah. So next goal, right? I mean, I had no job. I had nothing. I mean, like I said, picture that yellow guy laying there. That's who I was. And to this day, I can't fathom why she fell in love with that. I had nothing going for me. But I had to make things right? So I went back to school. We started a family. Took us about 5 years to make our son, and we immediately jumped into, okay, we got to make another one, right? So we're trying. The doctor said, just give it up. There's just too many surgeries there. So after many times of getting declined to adopt because I'm disabled, we went to Russia and adopted a little girl. So they're all grown up now and gone and doing their own thing. But so I knew Sue was a woman for me, right? But I was not about to marry her in a wheelchair. So that's when the legs came in. I had to figure out how to walk again. I started, my first pair of legs were leather and wood. The foot didn't even move. It looked very archaic. Remember, it was back in the 80s. And I went from a walker to crutches to 2 canes to finally be able to stand up long enough to marry my wife. So, pushing myself through all that, right, I got to thinking, what else can I do? So I got into that mode of, where's my challenge? What do I do? How do I do things, right? So I took up hunting, I fish, I hand bike, I took up extreme downhill skiing, I parasail, I snowboard, I kneeboard, I scuba dive, let's see, I snorkel, been bungee jumping, I kayak, and I do a lot of hiking. As a matter of fact, my wife and I just recently got done with a trip to Sierra Mountain Range where we climbed 3 mountains, and one of them was Mount Whitney. So through all that, what did I learn, right? It was a heck of a journey. It's been 40 years now. I did learn that mom's right when they say nothing good happens after midnight, so all you moms keep that up, thank you. Learned that God provides all of us with infinite amount of second choices, and Lord knows I've had them. And I learned that God loves to give us those challenges. He gives us these because he knows we can handle it. He knows he needs us to be better people for him. So he's got to build us up that way. You know, things I've been through, it just seems like there's no other way I was going to get through it. But after accepting Christ, I found out the way. It all began on a hunting trip to New Mexico. So we're in New Mexico doing a hunt for buckmasters, and I got a group of disabled kids with me, and we're hunting antelope. And we're all done with the hunt, and this tall, lanky guy, I mean, he must have been 7 feet tall, walks up to me and says, he said, I noticed all the film crews here, what do you guys do? And I told him the story about what we do for the disabled kids and stuff like that, and he's like, oh, he said, I got 3,000 acres in Kansas we've never hunted. I think that's something I'd like to do. So guys, Kansas, never been hunted, 3,000 acres. Next thing I know, we're hunting, right? So he invited us out. Got 6 guys with me. We got 6 big bucks, and I'm packing up. It's Saturday night. And Doug comes to me and says, hey, we're going to church in the morning. Would you like to come with us before you head home? Now, I was not raised in a church. I never go to church. My wife is a churchaholic. We're 2 completely different people. As a matter of fact, my wife is more, her family is more like the June Cleaver thing with the tablecloths and candles, and her mom wears a dress. Ours is like the Munsters, where it's Hungry Man dinners and TV, right? That's what we do. So we're 2 completely different people. But out of respect for Doug and Shelley, I said, yeah, I'll go to church with you. So I walk up to church, and it's, picture this is Kansas, dirt, right? There's this white church with this white picket fence, the big tall steeple. I mean, you guys can imagine, like Norman Rockwell painting, right? I walk up there, and all these people I don't even know are hugging me, thanking me for coming. Old ladies are giving me kisses. I'm like, this is really strange, right? So I sit through the service, and the only thing I'm thinking is, I got to get out of here, right? I don't belong in church. And they said, oh, no, you got to stay. We got potluck. So I'm like, all right, so I'll stay. Ate that and drove home. And I tell you, the whole way home, all I could think about was those people. I mean, a wretch like me, and I'm getting hugs and kisses from old ladies. It stuck in my head, right? So I walk home. I get in the door, walk in, and meet Sue. And she asked me how the trip went. I'm like, it's crazy. I said, they wanted me to go to church. And she said, you went to church? Yeah, I went to church. She said, what do you think? I said, I really don't know what to think. And she said, well, I've been church shopping. I found the church I really think you would like. Can you go with me? So now I'm regretting, why did I even tell her I went to church? But my wife, she's amazing. If she's going to ask me to do something, I'm going to do it. So I go to church with her. And I walk in, and I told her, I says, I'm sitting right here. It's the last pew. It's by the door. It's on the end. Because if I want to leave, I'm going to leave quickly, right? Pastor Bill starts talking, and I wish I remembered exactly what he's saying, but I tell you what, it was if everybody in that room left, and it was just me and Pastor Bill. He was speaking to me so deep that I started crying. And I ain't gonna let my wife see me cry. So I'm holding my head like this, And I'm crying, and I'm trying to get through the message. Got done. Walking out with my wife. She said, "What'd you think?" I said, "Oh my God, I have been missing this for almost 40 plus years. 40 plus years, I never accepted Christ. Even after all the things that happened to me in the hospital, I just never accepted." And I'm like, that's it. That's what I needed. So 6 months later, I was baptized and I accepted Christ fully. So now I have to open a Bible. My friend gave me this Bible when I was in the hospital. I've had it for 40 years. So I thought, okay, I got to start reading it. So I opened up the book and just laid it open. And what opened up to was Romans 5:3-4. It reads, and really gets me. It says, "Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who's been given to us." And that goes back to the whole perseverance and challenges. I accept them. I'm like, God, what do you got today? Bring them on, because I know those challenges are going to make me the man that he needs me to be, right? I got one more story. My dad's in hospice, and so I go to see him one day, and he tells me to step a little closer. He got something to say to me. And he said, "I just want to apologize as a father to you, because I feel it's my fault that you got shot." And I said, "Dad," I said, "it's not your fault. I was 100% my choice, my problem, my fight. I own it." And I said, "Dad," I said, "I'll tell you what," I said, "if I was to be facing two doors right now, and one door led to the life I was leading and one led to the life I'm living now, I would gladly walk through that door and get shot all over again." Because like I said, that was that day that God started on me to be the man that I needed to be. And he looked at me like I was a complete fool, right? He didn't believe in Christ. I prayed and prayed and prayed. I tried to pray with him, and I was just told no. And then not too long after that, he passed away. So I just assume God's got it all taken care of, right? So many years later, studying Revelations, and I came across chapter 3, verse 8, is when Jesus was speaking to the church in Philadelphia. He said to the church, "I know your deeds. Behold, I have put before you an open door which no one can shut." And that just hit me. He had that doors open for me the whole time. I just had to walk through it. So let me ask you guys, if you're facing two doors right now in your life, one leads you to the life you're living, and the other door leads you to the life you could lead, are you facing those doors with faith, or are you facing those doors with fear? If you're like me, you're definitely unsure, you're scared. But remember, there's only one person that can help you through that door, and that's Jesus Christ, our Savior. So tonight, we have pastors here available. If any of you are searching for that door, afraid to walk through it, and remember, tonight could be your last night. If you're searching for answers, searching for love, searching for guidance, I invite you guys to see one of the pastors tonight. They'll help you through those fears, I'm sure, and tell you more about Christ our God. Thank you.